Okay, welcome back. So thank you for coming back. Basically, it's our second class. So today we keep talking about computer security, and starting from today, and for several sessions, we will talk about crypto. We will talk about the background of crypto and how do you use crypto. So the full name of this is cryptography. And the crypto part basically means hide. So cryptography means sacred writing. So originally, it is a study of how to encrypt things. That's it. But now crypto is a much bigger area. It has much more than just encryption, decryption. So people who work on crypto, we call them cryptographers, and we know one of the pioneer in computer, Turing. He is also a cryptographer, and also Shannon, who is a pioneer of information theory, is also a cryptographer. So besides designing crypto algorithms, crypto protocols, also there are people study how to break crypto algorithms, break crypto protocols. And when we say that, we mean study the principles, methods to decipher encryptions without knowing the encryption key. Obviously, if you want to break a crypto system, the easiest way is try to get the key instead of breaking the algorithm itself. And but usually try to get the key is a system security problem. It's not a crypto problem itself. So crypto analysis focus on how to break crypto system without knowing the key. And in modern crypto, crypto can help us to achieve many goals we talked about this Monday. It can help confidentiality. It can encrypt a message. So I give a message to you which is encrypted. Any people in the middle of us will not be able to say, you can say our message, but it's an encrypted message. So this happens every day. You turn on your computer, you have a browser, your browser talks with a web server, and the communication between the browser and the web server is encrypted. Integrity ensures that what is the message you received is not be changed by anyone in the middle. The same thing with your browser. So your browser talks with the server, and the crypto protocol makes sure that the message is actually sent from the server and it's not changed. Authenticity and non-repudiation. So crypto can help us to do all of that. So crypto is such a fundamental tool we use in security. So how do we differentiate crypto and security? Most people would argue crypto is actually a branch of math. But the security is about many other things. It's about crypto, it's about implementation, engineering, hardware, software, and also people. No matter how perfect you design your system, people are going to use that. And in a lot of cases, humans, they are the weakest link of a security system, not the algorithm. So to breach those security properties, attackers, they do not have to break the most solid link like crypto algorithms. They just need to find the weakest link. And most cases, it's not crypto, it's not math. Okay, so that's the difference between security and crypto. To achieve security goals, we use a lot of crypto. I mentioned about the Heartbleed example Monday. So that's a perfect example. So the crypto algorithm was not broken. However, the keys were placed inside the process memory. And because of software vulnerability, anything in the process address space can be written by a remote attacker. So crypto protocol still solid there. However, the key was disclosed. So crypto tools are essential in designing security solutions. So that's why we need to understand them. We want to know when to use them, how to use them, and how to use them correctly. So in this class, we will look at several different types of crypto tools. The first one is symmetric encryption. Algorithms like AES, DES, we will talk about the details of them next week. So those algorithms, we are using them every day. Then hash functions, message authentication code, public key encryption, all of them, we use them. Each one of you use them every day, many, many times. You just do not realize that. Digital signature certificates, the same thing. As long as you are surfing the web, you are using them. Pseudo-random number generators. So that is also, so the pseudo-random number generator is related to the keys. Like I said, the protocols, those are open, those are public. Only the keys is supposed to be kept secret. So how do you know your key is mathematically safe? So you need to randomly generate the keys. So how can your machine really generate some random numbers? So those are also a very important area of study. So before we dive into crypto, let's go through several terminology. The first one is plain text. So some of the terminology mainly apply to encryption, decryption. Some of them are more general than that. So first one is plain text. So plain text is basically a message or data you want to transmit, you want to send it to anyone, okay? So at your end, you have the plain text. When someone received it, eventually the person can only use the plain text. However, during the transmission, the data can be encrypted, and we call that a ciphertext. So the crypto keys, they are just a bit string, or just a sequence of bits that controls the operation of the crypto algorithm. There are different crypto algorithms. They can be controlled by a sequence of bits, or you can encode the operations of the algorithm in just a sequence of bits. Then there is key space, which is the total number of possible values of keys for a particular algorithm. Obviously, if the key space is huge, then it's very difficult to brute force, try to guess the key. But if the key space is very small, doesn't matter how complicated your algorithm is, the attacker can just enumerate all the keys, brute force the system. So encryption is a process of disguising a message so as to hide the information it contains. And protocol is usually an algorithm or a sequence of algorithm, a sequence of the steps to achieve some security goals. And the combination of algorithm keys, the key management, even the system design behind that, the implementations, we call that a crypto system, okay? So those are the basic concepts, should be easy to understand. So when we design any crypto protocols or algorithms, we follow one principle, which is called the Kirchhoff's principle. So this is originated from a book. I don't know if it's published or what. So anyway, it's a handbook back in the 17th century. So this principle says that a crypto system should be secure, even if everything about the system, including the algorithm, including the other design, including the implementation, is public to everyone, except the key. Only the key should be a secret. Everything else should be public. So we should never assume enemy, they won't know about the algorithm because they can capture our machine. All times they can capture the machine. They can reverse engineer the algorithm. Some of them are, the algorithm could be written documents. They file patent. So all of those do not. So those should be public. So when you design a crypto algorithm, we always keep that in mind. only the key is secret. Everything else should be public. So next, we will talk about symmetric encryption, which is the only form of encryption before 1970s. So before 1970s, human, have the history of use some kind of encryption maybe for thousands of years. But before that, it's all, we say they are all symmetric encryption. Only after the 70s, several professors from MIT designed the RSA, which we still use today. So that's public key crypto. And also two other professors, researchers. One of them was Professor Diffie and Herman. They invented the DH algorithm for key exchange. We are going to talk about that later. So those algorithms do not belong to symmetric encryption. Okay. So in symmetric encryption, the sender and the recipient, there could be multiple recipients, right? A sender can send a group message. But anyway, the sender and the recipient, they have to share the same key. The sender uses this key for encryption. The recipient uses this key for decryption. So because of that, this key must be secret at both ends. So how do they share the key? That's a totally different story. That's about key management. For now, let's assume the sender has a key and the recipient has the same key, and they use this one to encrypt and also decrypt message. So those algorithms we still use because, first of all, usually those algorithms are very fast. And a lot of what we are doing is to do encryption. And we can build other complicated systems on those fast encryption algorithms. And because two parties have this key, so that key usually needs to be updated frequently. You don't keep using it forever. If one party was compromised, then the key is disclosed. You have to replace it. So that's one of the drawbacks of symmetric key encryption. So if we visualize this, let's say we have a sender, we have a recipient. The sender has a message, wants to send it to the recipient. Then the sender will use an encryption algorithm, which is public. The encryption algorithm is open to everyone, to the attacker as well. Then the sender will generate a key, and somehow the sender have a secure channel to give the key to the recipient, or the recipient generate the key, have a secure channel to give to the sender. So we don't talk about details about that part, just we'll assume both sender and the recipient have this key. Then sender use the plain text as the key, feed that to the encryption algorithm, and the encryption algorithm will generate the ciphertext. The ciphertext, if you do not know what that is, it just looks like random bits. It doesn't look like anything meaningful. Then the sender can just give this ciphertext to the recipient using any insecure communication channel. So attackers can't get this ciphertext. The attacker's goal is to get the plain text. Then after the recipient get that ciphertext, it will use a decryption algorithm. There's a typo here. Well, sometimes the encryption algorithm and decryption algorithm actually, they are the same algorithm, but this is a typo. So it will use a key and decryption algorithm to decrypt the message and get the plain text. Okay, so as simple as that. So if we write this in a little bit more formal format, it should look like this. We have an encryption algorithm E. The E takes at least 2 parameters here, which is a key and a plain text. So in next week's class, you can see modern crypto algorithms, they sometimes take a third parameter, which is a random number. But that random number doesn't have to be a secret. So that random number can be shared. Usually it's called IV, initialization vector. Anyway, it's a random number. So, but if we simplify that, the most important two parts is just the plain text and the key. Then at the recipient's end, we have the key, we have the ciphertext. Then we just use a decryption algorithm to get the plain text. So to design a good symmetric encryption, we need to follow that Kirchhoff principle, which means the whole system, the whole algorithm here, the secrecy of it should only depend on the key. The encryption, decryption, both algorithms are public. Everyone can know it, everyone can run it, everyone can analyze it, okay? So without knowing the key, a good algorithm should be very difficult for attacker to invert this. If attacker has the ciphertext and the attacker also has the decryption algorithm, but without the key, it should be very difficult or impossible for the attacker to get the plain text. Also, to make things run faster, we also usually require E and D to be very easy to execute. It should be very fast. So like I said, all the encryption algorithms for maybe 1,000 years in human history, people designed algorithms like that, all belong to symmetric key encryption. So later when we talk about public key, we talk about DH, so they are different. So if we define this formally, I think the book we are using didn't really define this formally, but some other books, or if you eventually at some point do research in security or crypto, you read papers, you will say they define it a little bit formally. So if we define this a little bit formally, a symmetric encryption system will have several algorithms, and those algorithms should be polynomial time algorithms. So first of all, there is a generation algorithm to generate the key. The key should be random. So you only need to give a parameter, like for example, how long the key, how many bits this key should be. Then it will give you a key, and this key should be it's quite random. No one can guess it. Then the encryption algorithm will take any message. Note that here, the message is arbitrarily long here. Any message in modern crypto is just 2 bits, 0, 1. But in classic crypto, the crypto people use for 1,000 years, obviously the message should just have our alphabet, right? So all their own language alphabet. So giving a key and a message, it outputs the ciphertext. And the decryption algorithm is just with a key, with the ciphertext, we generate the plain text. So this is how formally we write this. So if you say some of the writing like this in the homework, so do not get scared. So next we will discuss several classic symmetric encryption algorithms. So those are the algorithms used for 1,000 years, and they are broken. They are not considered secure, but they inspired our design of modern crypto. Not only inspired that, some people, I will show you later, some people proved if we combine those techniques together, we can build more secure systems. So the first algorithm is called Kaisa cipher. So the story is Kaisa used to encrypt messages to communicate with his generals. So what he does is he will take each letter of the alphabet and replace it with a letter a certain distance away from that letter. So when his generals got the ciphertext, then they will just replace it with a letter certain distance before that letter. If the encryption, if it got to the end of the alphabet, it would just wrap back around to the beginning. So for example, here, let's say we just want to replace a letter with a letter 3 letters away from the original letter. So the original, let's say our alphabet is just uppercase A to Z, only 26 of them. So we will replace A to D, B to E, C to F, D to G, okay? Very simple. Then at the end, because here from X, we already at the end of the alphabet, then X will change to A, Y will change to B, Z will change to C. Okay. So this thing, we can call it an encryption table or shift table. And you can say, if we try to see this using a modern perspective, from modern perspective, we can say the key here could be 3. The algorithm is to replace it from a certain distance. And in this case, the key is 3. So how many keys are there? There are just 26 or 25 keys, right? I mean, we can say 26. I mean, A to A, then there will be 26 keys. So the key space in this case is really small. 25, 26, doesn't matter. Okay, the key space is really small. So let's say Kaisa sent a message to his general saying attack. Then attack will be encrypted as DWWDFN. That's it. Okay. So this one, now we can easily implement algorithm like this just using Linux command. We can just use Linux command translate. TR is Linux command translate. So we can do translate. So there are, in Linux command translate, there are 2 parameters, and it takes input from the stdin. So the first input is the original alphabet. The second one is the output alphabet. So we want to, so in this one, I actually want to translate both lowercase and uppercase. So uppercase A to Z, there are 26 of them. So they will be translated from D to Z, then A to C, right? That's 26 of them there. The lowercase will be the same thing. So this can be easily implemented in just a Linux command. So how can we attack this cipher? So let's say the attacker here, the bad guy, do not really know the key or the shift table. So the key is equivalent to the shift table anyway. So only knows the ciphertext. Then what we can do is there are only 26 keys, 25 keys. Then we just, we know the algorithm it's using, it's this. Then we just write down all those keys, 25 of them. Then we use each of them to decrypt the message. Then after that, we get 25 candidates of plain text. Then we just look at each of them to say which one makes sense, right? So it's very simple because the key space here is very small, 25. You just brute force. Then what if we make this algorithm a little bit safer? We extend this algorithm to something we call a simple substitution cipher. So this cipher is also a substitution cipher. You substitute one letter with another one, but a letter is always substituted to a particular letter, right? A is always substituted to D. That's why the command here, we call it translate. So what if we, but here is every letter is substituted with a letter a certain distance away from that. What if we can translate it from any letter to any letter? Then how many possible algorithms or translations we can have there, or mapping we can have there? So technically, we can have factorial 26 or factorial 25. Those ways of mapping, right? So if we calculate that, it's a huge number. This is a huge number. So if the message is encrypted using this substitution cipher, and if you still try to brute force it, what will happen is, let's say every person on Earth can try 1 per second. It will take 5 billion years to try all of those combinations. Okay, of course, the modern computer will be much faster than that, but still it will take a long time to try that. Try all of those keys to brute force this. So, sounds like this crypto is secure, right? It's not, but if you look at this, it looks like it's secure, right? But so let's say, how can we decipher this without spending 5 billion years on this? So this is a ciphertext. The plain text is only uppercase here. The alphabet here is just A to Z, and with white space. That's it. Then we're not using Kaisa cipher here. We're using simple substitution cipher. We don't have the key. We don't know the key. We just want to figure out what this is. So where do you want to start with something like this? What? Okay, yeah, that's a good point. So here you actually use some knowledge. So the plain text here is English, right? Then you use the knowledge of English itself. For example, in English, the letters, they have different frequency. So E has the highest frequency, 12%. Then T, also very high, 9%. You use those frequency information, then you calculate in this small piece of ciphertext which letter appears most of the times. Then that letter could be a E. Then the second one could be a T, right? So that is some information. Then we can try that. We can start from there. That will narrow down our search space. And the frequency do not only apply to letters. It also applies to words. For example, how many trigrams we use in English? Not many. We use a lot of the, we use some and. And if you look at the ciphertext here, the first one here is VKY, okay? Where you write an and there at the beginning of a paragraph? Probably not, right? So it's very likely that is so V is T, K is H, and Y is E. So we're not brute forcing here. We're using our knowledge of the language itself. So if we do a translation of VKY to then everything else we just don't change. Then this is what we get. Then what we get here is the PTDT. Then if you go back here, it's like we already solved several letters here. Then the next, we can say if there are other heuristics, patterns we can use. Like you said, the D is weird, right? There's a D, there's another D. So how many one-letter word do we use in English? Not many, maybe just right? That's it. So we can guess D is is A, basically. Then we do this translation. Then we can have the P. What's this look like? Like the state, right? P is probably S here. So all this part we already translate. And there we have A there. Then there is a AP. The P is what? P is S. So AS, so this is S. So if we just keep doing that, we will be able to crack this pretty fast. So this is something I just come up with last night. I just copied UB's page from Wikipedia, the State University of New York. So I did a translation there using TR. So to encrypt this message, you just do A to Z, then each of them do this. So I randomly generated this part. Then to translate back, just do this. So you see, we don't have to spend 5 billion years to crack this one. So even if the key space in this example is huge, this algorithm is not really secure. So to design a better encryption algorithm, a large key space is not enough. The algorithm itself has to be smart. So why this is not enough? First of all, there's a property of the algorithm we look at. So each character will only be mapped to another character. It will not be mapped to many different characters. So this is called the mono alphabetic algorithm. So the same plain text letters are always placed by the same ciphertext letters. Because of that, it doesn't really hide statistical information of the plain text. It's just changed. So E is still in the plain text. E is the most common one. In the ciphertext, the one replace E will be the most common one. Using that statistical information, we can infer the most common one probably is E. And natural language itself, all of the natural languages, they are very redundant. So we can use a lot of information in the language itself. So how do we enhance this to make the algorithm even more secure? We still want to use substitution as a basic building block to build new algorithms. Now, the first one is we can use something called polyalphabetic cipher. Basically, one letter can be in plain text, can be replaced with many different symbols in the ciphertext. E doesn't have to be A. E can be A in some cases, can be C in other cases. Then another approach we use is called transposition or permutation. That one, we do not substitute letters. We move their positions. So we scramble the order of those units. So the unit could be several bits, could be one letter for classic ones. We just reordered it. So transposition cipher is just we rearrange the units in the plain text in some methods, and we do not really substitute anything. Here is another example. Let's say the message we're trying to send is today is Monday, then in the between there are white space, and we're just using addition to replace white space here. So that's a plain text. Today is Monday. We want to encrypt this. We do not want to replace any letter with another letter or other letters. What we do is we can arrange this sentence. Each line will have, each row will have 5 letters. Today, white space, is white space, Monday, something like that. Then when we send it out, we read in a counter clockwise spiral from top left. So we send it out, we do not send TODAY. We send T plus 0 NDAY MY this way. So basically, this is just one of the methods to rearrange the order of letters. We didn't change any of the letters, right? So if we encrypt things this way, you can say, this is the ciphertext. If you look at the ciphertext, it still gives you some, well, you probably can guess what this is, but it's not that straightforward. So those are the 2 basic methods in classic crypto. One is transposition, another one is substitution. So later I will show that the modern crypto algorithms, they are actually built on top of those 2 methods. So very easy to understand, 2 basic building blocks. So before we move to modern crypto, we will talk about one particular type of crypto. This is a crypto algorithm that is perfectly secure. But at the same time, it's just impractical. We cannot use this crypto algorithm. So this protocol is called, or algorithm is called a one-time pad. So the idea is very simple. So no matter how long your message is, the sender will generate a key as long as the message. And that key itself, there is no repetition there. The key, every character of that key, every bit of that key is randomly generated, uniformly distributed, randomly generated, okay? Then with that key and the message, we can just do very simple encryption. We can just do an exclusive OR. Each byte of the key exclusive OR with each byte of the original message, or every bit. That's the same thing, okay? So very simple. The algorithm can be super simple here. Doesn't really matter. So this algorithm requires that we generate new keys at the same length as the new message. So this idea was proposed in the early 20th century. And this guy, Gilbert Verman, actually got a patent for this idea. He got a patent for that. Then later, a US Army captain, Joseph, he recognized that it is very difficult to break this system if this system exists. Then later, in 1949, Shannon proved that this system is perfectly secure in his, I think it's probably his master's thesis, Communication Theory of Secrecy Systems. So how many of you heard of Claude Shannon before? What? So most of you, since you are in computer science, you heard of Turing, right? You heard of von Neumann, right? Those are the pioneers in computer. But Shannon is really the pioneer in communication. So all the communication guys believe Shannon invented one of the greatest minds in the 20th century. So he proved that this system is perfectly secure. So what do we mean by perfectly secure? So remember what we did with that simple algorithm there. The simple substitution algorithm. When we break that ciphertext, we didn't try to find the key. We were just using statistical information. We are using our knowledge of the English itself and try to get the plain text, right? So perfectly secure has nothing to do with breaking a key, okay? So perfectly secure basically means the ciphertext has no statistical relationship with the plain text. Not at all. So previous approaches, we do substitution, the statistical information remains there, right? If we substitute one letter with another letter, the statistical information will move from one letter to another letter, but it remains there. If we substitute one letter with multiple letters, then the statistical information will be changed, but it will not be lost forever. There will still be some statistical information that just changed. If we do that transposition, obviously we're just moving their positions of letters. The statistical information do not change, right? However, for this one-time padding, there is no statistical information between the plain text and ciphertext. Let's say originally you have a bit, which is 1. The key could be 0, could be 1, and it's equally possible that it becomes a 1 or 0. It's always 50% 50% chance to be 1 or 0. There's no statistical information. Okay, so in those cases without the key, the only way we can break the system is to brute force. So, however, this algorithm is perfectly secure, but we're not using it because this is not practical. No one can really implement a secure algorithm like this. Okay, imagine you want to send out n bit of message, plain text. That's what you send out. So how long your key should be? Also n bit of key. Let's say you can generate n bit of key, but how do you send this n bit of key to your recipient? Remember, this key can only be used once. You cannot use it twice. Every time you send out a message, you have to generate a new key and send out the key. So the key is the same length as the message. So you go back to the original problem. How do you send out n bit of message securely, right? That's not as secure as this anymore, because the key is repeating. It's less secure. So a lot of modern algorithm design is kind of like that. We call that stream cipher. Okay, but they are repeating. Yeah. So the problem here is how do you distribute the key, that one-time pad? That's the same problem as the original problem. How do you distribute n bit of message, n bit of message? So that's why this even though they got a patent for this, but this is not really a practical algorithm. So now we move to modern symmetric encryption algorithms. Today we will only talk about the high-level idea of modern crypto encryption algorithms. Then next week we will look at two algorithms widely used. One is a DES, which we do not really use very often now. Another one is AES. AES has been there for 25 years maybe, but we're still using it every day. So the modern algorithms, basically one-time padding doesn't work. So what we do with modern cipher is we just combine substitution and transposition together. We're doing multiple rounds of substitution. We do multiple rounds of transposition. That's it. Of course, how do we substitute? How do we transpose? Will be carefully designed. So also in that paper, Shannon proved that using this approach, just combine both simple building blocks, he proved using information theory, which he invented, we can create something new crypto algorithms much more secure. And those new algorithms, we call them product ciphers. You don't have to remember the name, right? But that's just the modern ciphers. So he formulated two principles. One is called confusion, another one is called diffusion for modern ciphers. The confusion is just substitution. Diffusion is just transposition. It's just the way you substitute and the way you transpose. There are many different choices there. So guys, please keep quiet, okay? Okay, so in modern algorithms, the substitution, how it works is, so a lot of difference between modern algorithm and classic algorithm is modern algorithm work on bits. Every bit is just 1 or 0. But a classic algorithm, they work on some natural language alphabet, like A to Z, right? So, but now we can encode everything into bits. So the modern substitution cipher, the substitution part can take n bits and substitute that n bits with n bits. So the m and n doesn't have to be the same number. So n bits can be substituted, 2 bits can be substituted to 4 bits, 6 bits can be substituted to 4 bits. Actually, AES S box will change 6 bits to 4 bits. So the way we substitute them is predefined. It can be predefined, it can depend on the key. But actually, a lot of algorithm, to make things faster, the rule, the mapping, you map several bits to another several bits, is just hard-coded. And that hard-coded part is called a substitution box or S box. So the permutation part, the part we move around the bytes, the same thing. We have a rule. That rule is this is the position of this bit, and we are going to move this bit to another position, right? That can also be described as a lookup table, and we call that a P box. So now, based on those principles, there are 2 main types of symmetric encryption algorithms. One is block cipher, another one is a string cipher. So what you described there just now is very close to a string cipher. So in block cipher, the key has fixed length. In string cipher, the key is very long. It's the same length as the message. And we just do a simple inclusive or some simple encryption. However, that key, even though it's as long as the message, it repeats itself somewhere. So it's actually automatically generated using a deterministic algorithm from a much shorter key. So the real key in this case is not as long as the message. So it's not really a one-time pad there. Okay. So in block cipher, we break the message, the plain text, into several predefined blocks. Each block, let's say, is n bit. Then we do substitution, we do transposition there. Then we apply multiple rounds of them. Then we eventually generate the ciphertext. So here is how I visualize this. Let's say you have a file you want to encrypt and send this file to someone. And you do this every day. You do this automatically, right? When you chat with someone using what is the instance message you guys use right now? WhatsApp. Yeah, for example, you use WhatsApp. You type something there, then that whatever you type there will be divided into several blocks. Then each block will be encrypted using the key, generate the key, and then they are be concatenated together to send to the recipient. So obviously, because we divided them into several blocks, the last block may not have the size of what you want. That's why you may add some padding there, right? So in stream cipher, we process message bit by bit. The plain text we just consider is just bit. The key stream is also just bit. Then we can do a simple operation like inclusive OR there to generate the ciphertext. And the key here will be, the key string will be generated by the crypto key. But the crypto key usually is small, but the plain text message can be arbitrarily long. So this is those 2 types of crypto algorithms. So how do we attack those encryption algorithms? Or how do we have a taxonomy of the methods we attack them? I want to emphasize again, encryption and decryption algorithms are public, and attacker knows encryption and both encryption and decryption algorithm. So depending on what the attacker knows, about other parts of the crypto system. Some books come up with several types of attacks. The first one is called the ciphertext only attack. So in this model, the attacker only knows a number of ciphertext. Like the example, the state of New York and Buffalo University, that paragraph. For that paragraph, we know what the algorithm is, but we don't know the key. We only have one piece of ciphertext. We don't have more. We cannot ask the algorithm to generate more ciphertext for us. We cannot. So that is called a ciphertext only attack. Okay? So in this model, the adversary, the attacker, doesn't know many things. Another one is known plain text attack. So in this model, the attacker knows some pairs of ciphertext and its corresponding plain text and try to guess the key, or for any other ciphertext, try to reverse the plain text. That's a goal. Then we have chosen plain text attack. Adversaries knows ciphertext for the message of the attacker's choice. And we also have chosen ciphertext attack. Attacker knows the plain text for the ciphertext of attacker's choice. So you can see in those 4 different types, the knowledge attacker has increases, right? So the 4 different models. So which model do you think is realistic in your given day life? Which model is realistic? Everyone? Other ideas? Yes, most cases, not always the first one. The first one actually implies, well, they know the algorithm, but they don't know the key, right? So not always the first one. So the first one is actually very realistic. Let's say, I still want to use the browser and server as an example. Your browser and the web server already established a secure communication. And you can send whatever message to the server. Your computer will automatically encrypt that sent to the server. And you can, because you send the message, so you know the plain text. And from the network, you can eavesdrop the ciphertext. So you choose the plain text and you get the ciphertext. So this is a very realistic model. So in this model, attacker's ability is more advanced than those ones, right? But still, this is the chosen ciphertext is still very practical. So that's why when we design crypto algorithms, we want the algorithm to prevent all kinds of attacks like that. So let's say in the chosen plain text attack model, a lot of crypto algorithms, if you read papers, they will discuss its security under this model. So in this model, attacker is allowed to ask for encryption of messages of its choice. It's kind of like the attacker has an oracle. The attacker doesn't know how the oracle works. Actually, it's not really an oracle because the encryption algorithm itself is public, right? So attacker does know that. But let's say attacker not only knows that, attacker can also run a particular instance of the algorithm. A particular instance means here the key is associated with the algorithm. Then the attacker can just query different messages, plain text, and get the ciphertext. And attacker the goal is eventually for any message generated by the same oracle, which is algorithm plus key, the attacker should be able to reverse get the plain text from the ciphertext. Okay, that's all I have for the crypto part today. Next week we talk about DES and AES. Any questions so far? What? Uh, of course, that will make this particular example a little bit more difficult to solve. But fundamentally, it doesn't change the statistical characteristics that much. So it still can be solved really quick. Of course, you can always make something a little bit harder, but not significantly, okay? Or scientifically harder, let's say, yeah. Yes, because of the statistical characteristics, yes. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah, you can remove that, but still, like I said, it's basically the same thing, yeah. This one? Which part? So a good block cipher, so each output bit is a function of all input bit. So this is actually related to the substitution and also transposition there. So every bit, let's say in the plain text, every bit there, if it can influence all other bits in the ciphertext, that's the best. If it can only influence the first bit, what will happen? Statistically, we can say the relationship. If it can influence all other bits, because we have that transposition, it will be harder for the attacker to figure out. As a ciphertext, we say several bits are changed. We want to figure out because of which bit of the key or which bit of the plain text those bits in the ciphertext change. If it influences a lot, it makes attacker much more difficult to figure out originally which bit was changed in the plain text, right? Yes. In one block, yeah. So here we treat each block a little bit more independent. Then we think about how do we combine them together. We can even just shuffle blocks, yeah. So key is not really a mapping, right? Technically, the mapping is an algorithm itself, right? The algorithm has multiple rounds, has substitution, transposition. The key controls the internal of the algorithm. Let's say you can design an algorithm like if bit 0 is 1, then I will do 3 rounds of substitution, 2 rounds of transposition. If the bit the second bit is 0, then I do another round of this, something like that. Yes. Well, it controls the algorithm somehow. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do you mean by key static? Key is always. The key doesn't really. So in the stream cipher, what happens is originally you have a key. Then you generate something called key stream, right? The key stream will be the same length as your message. So it will, no matter how long your message is, the algorithm to generate the key stream will always generate a message that long. But basically, let's say you have 3 bits and you want to generate 500 bits out of that 3 bits. So inevitably, you are going to repeat something there. It's not like every bit is totally independent, right? The block cipher actually is similar. Let's say the original bit, like AES, the original keys is 16 bytes. I think they can do 16 bytes or 20 bytes. Let's say 20 bytes. Then you have 168 bits of AES keys. But there are so many blocks. So you are going to generate a lot of 160 bits of, let's say, subkeys. Let's call them subkeys from the original key. Yeah. So what you are saying is you generate an irrational number, then you use that irrational number as the key because it's very long, right? But it's basically infinite, right? So So the idea is, let's say, attacker can quickly figure out you are using this irrational number as a key. Then the attacker can also generate the same key. Let me explain this way. The irrational number you have is correctly that is an infinitely long key string, right? However, the algorithm to generate this key string is not secure. It's not that hard maybe to figure out. You are just, for example, you're just doing 5 divided by something, I don't know, irrational, right? But close something to simulate, to get close to that, yeah. Yeah. Make sense? Yeah. Okay. Anyone else? So actually in modern crypto, it's not the same key. So like the main key is just 20 bytes, 160 bits. It will generate a lot of subkeys. For each block, they may use a different subkey to do this. Yeah. Okay. Okay. If no other questions, see you guys next Monday.